So, we are gathered here today on unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We recognize the historical and ongoing presence of the Algonquin people on the land. We respect the relationships the Algonquin people have with the land and the water. We appreciate efforts of reconciliation while conceding the ongoing impacts of effects of colonialism. Before I leave the mic stand, I just want to talk a little bit about Return Our Children Home. So we are made up of a collective of left behind parents. And what left behind parents are is we are parents whose children were abducted to another country by a spouse or an ex-spouse. And obviously it was without our consent, so we are all struggling to bring our kids back. Our mission here at Return Our Children Home is to support each other, to bring about awareness of what IPCA is, and to advocate for concrete and meaningful change by engaging with different levels of government. Our stories connect us from province to province, but our journeys are different. Together, us parents make up the members of Return Our Children Home, as well as the board members of the organization.
Hello. Thank you so much for being out here. Your support means a lot to us. So as Jolly mentioned, we recently became incorporated. We are now a not-for-profit organization. And over the last couple of years, our membership, unfortunately, has increased and increased and increased. What that means is we are including more and more parents whose children have been abducted internationally by the other parent every single year. So these are some of our statistics. Currently, we are a not-for-profit organization that includes 39 different parents, and 58 of our children have been abducted internationally. This includes countless family members, numerous grandparents, and at least 5 half-siblings that we are aware of who have been left behind by such a situation. Our goal has always been to reunite with our children, raise awareness about international parental child abduction, and prevent this crime from happening. Currently, out of the 39 parents, 62% of us are fathers, while 38% of us are moms. 74% of our cases are still active, which means 71% of our children are currently not in Canada. 53% of our children are daughters, and 47 are sons, and the average age of when our children were abducted was 5 years old. 52% abductions originated from Ontario and 26% from British Columbia. Currently, amongst us, common abduction destinations are countries such as Lebanon, India, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. 52% of the abductions within our group happened when a married or a common law partner took a vacation with our kids under a false pretext. And 42% of the abductions that happened within our group were by parents who have violated a Canadian custody order, a Canadian non-removal order, or essentially a Canadian order that invalidates the passports and travel documents. This is staggering. Within the last 3 years, we have had 16 new abductions, which involves 21 different kids. 43% of our abductions have lasted for longer than 5 years, which means for 5 years, either parents don't know where their kids are or have no contact with them or simply cannot go home and hug their children. And 24% of these abductions have lasted longer than 7 years. 69% of abductions and 71% of our children have been abducted to countries which have not ratified the Hague Treaty. 70% of our abductions are to Hague countries and 67% are to non-Hague countries. And these abductions have lasted longer than 2 years. Abductions to non-Hague countries generally last longer, with 44% hitting the 5-year mark and 19% hitting the 10-year mark. One of our parents is hitting the 10-year mark today, as a matter of fact. 72% of us parents have no contact with our children, and 2 parents do not know where their children are located. Even when our children are returned, 71% of our children are suffering from long-term psychological trauma. Because let's face it, abduction is harmful. Abduction is torturous. So please, go home, hug your family members, hug your kids, and help us prevent this crime. Help us so that we don't continue to increase our membership and continue to add parents who have been affected by international parental child abduction. Thank you.
So I have a little speech. The parent that marks their 10-year anniversary who Sarab was talking about is me. So today, exactly 10 years ago, I hugged my boys and said goodbye to them for what was supposed to be a 1-month trip. That morning, I bathed them, dressed them in their new outfits, and slapped on brand new watches on their wrists and sent them off. Their dad swore that day on the Quran that he will return with them in a month. I shut the door behind them as they left for the airport. If I knew then of the heartache that would pursue, actually, there's no need to go down that road. I did it many times and it leads to nowhere, only more heartache and depression. 10 years. When it happened, I thought within 1 year, this will somehow all be resolved. And then I hit the 1 year mark, and that passed, and I thought, 2 years. In 2 years, they'll be back. And 2 years passed, and nothing. And then 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now 10 years. It's a really, really hard pill to swallow. But what is 10 years? 10 years is 5,200 weeks. 10 years is 1,200 months. 10 years is a decade. But 10 years is actually more than just numbers and days. 10 years is full of holidays and birthday celebrations. 10 years is weddings and funerals. 10 years is crammed with exams and tests, homeworks and projects. 10 years is stuffed with family get-togethers, cousins playing together, occasionally fighting, but always growing side by side. 10 years is packed with daily hugs and kisses. 10 years is overflowing with life and love and laughter. Live, love, laugh. 10 years is a lot more than numbers and days. 10 years is abundance of discoveries, learning, and teaching. 10 years is teeming with grandmother visits and her cooking, her love, and her healing abilities. 10 years is a chock full of sleepovers, movie watching, secretly staying up late, eating snacks, and making messes. 10 years is a decade brimming with some moments of happy times, with sad moments, happy times, angry situations, and joyful experiences. 10 years is jam-packed with memories of growing. However, for me, the last 10 years have been of agony, despair, heartache, silence, and memories unmade. But through it all, through all the years, through the turmoil and the disparity, I refuse to play a victim and to lose hope. Hope is a beautiful thing. It has the power to build strength, to shine light, and some would say to deceive. Maybe yes. But to deceive in a good way, to allow you to live. Today, I feel sad, but I feel hopeful. And I know I will have a happy ending. Today, I also feel joyful because I have a loving, wonderful family who have been there for me through all of my struggles and who have helped me to stand on my feet when I had no strength to do so. I have amazing friends of old and new who never gave up on me, who encourage and support me when I just wanted to give up myself. Today is not completely sad. Today is a realization that I am strong, I am powerful, and honestly, I know I'm not alone. With all my love and gratitude, I thank each and every one of you for being here today and for all your support and for just standing in solidarity with us. So thank you, really from the bottom of my heart.
All right, thank you, Jolly, for sharing. It's wonderful to see this group that's gathered together to acknowledge families who've experienced international child abduction. My name is Shelley Biak. I have 2 children who were abducted from British Columbia to Beirut, Lebanon in 2018 during spring break. They were ages 7 and 9 at the time, and now they are 14 and 16. A little background. Their dad and I had arranged to split the 2-week holiday. Week 1, they were with me, and week 2, they were with him, and he was supposed to drop them off at school when classes resumed. He picked them up as planned and left Canada almost immediately. Yeah. I discovered the abduction a week later when the school called me because the kids had not shown up. A number of things were uncovered over the next few days, including I went to their home almost immediately and it had cleared out, so they were missing. The first few days and weeks, and in fact, even now I struggle to remember certain details. It was a whirlwind of police interviews, conversations with Global Affairs, providing information to authorities, letting family and friends know. The legalities, which at that time I expected would lead to the recovery and return home. However, they haven't come home. Despite having a loving family and strong friendships, that period felt very isolating. I was acutely aware that there must be others who could relate to this ongoing crisis, and I wanted to connect with and learn from all of them, which is actually when I came across Jolly, and we began a friendship which is now into its 7th year. If I could describe the ironic relief of speaking in person with another parent who too had experienced child abduction, and our kids are pretty close in age, it was overwhelming. I didn't have to explain the challenge of working with government offices or describe the emotional impact of this crisis on not only me, but also on the rest of the family, on their friends, and on the kids' larger network. She got it. So eventually we'd become 2 of the founding members of Return Our Children Home Canada, and the others are here. Some of them couldn't make it. No support and advocacy groups of this nature existed in Canada, though there were others like us, moms and dads with Canadian children abducted internationally, and who too were maneuvering through bureaucratic systems while managing our own range of emotions. Which leads me to the topic of community and why it's important. Return Our Children Home Canada encompasses all genders with connections to a range of countries harboring our children. The commonality is not only the inability to parent our children at all, but also our shared experience is one of crisis, trauma, grief, and now also a way to connect and perhaps reframe or transfer some of this stress into action and purpose. The value is that we can walk alongside each other while navigating some really, really complex issues and experiences. Each one of us have had to become educated and advocate for our cases. With knowledge comes power, and so this group provides information and is a resource for parents as they coordinate their efforts. In closing, if us standing here today helps one other person walk through tomorrow, then I would call that a small win. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Shelley, and thanks, Jolly. And we'll hear more statements of this sort. I think you'll hear some common elements. If I'm a bit rushed in my speaking, it's because I actually have a video call scheduled with my daughter in about 20 minutes, and I want to get through what I have to say, but I also want to spend time with her and focus on that while I have the chance. So hi, everyone, and thanks for being here. And like the other speakers have said, it really means a lot to us to have you here, especially those who have come year after year to support us. This is the 4th year we've been here, and so many of you will already know some of our stories, Jolly, Sorab, Pradeep, and others. But if you haven't heard it yet, my name is Alec, and I flew from BC, like Shelley did, to be here. A little over 6 years ago, my daughter was abducted from Vancouver to Paraguay by her mom and her stepdad. They flew to Mexico for a week of spring break, with my blessing and my permission. What I didn't know is that they already planned to abduct our daughter from there to Paraguay, and the Mexico trip was just a ruse, and they've been there ever since. 2019, when the abduction happened, is a long time ago. Paraguay and Canada are both signatories to the Hague Convention on Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction, which is the main legislation to deal with these cases. So it's supposed to be simple. Both countries have agreed that it shouldn't be possible to cross a border and change the rules, to get a second kick at the same can. In our case, under Canadian law, my ex and I shared parenting of our daughter, but of course once you cross a border, these agreements don't necessarily apply, and that's exactly the point. That's why these things happen. The Hague Convention deals with this. It states that any changes to our co-parenting should happen in Canada, where we all lived. This is called the habitual residence of the child. Paraguay should have said no. Our courts aren't the place for this. If you want to relocate, that's fine, but you have to work it out by agreement or in Canadian courts first. And they're supposed to do this, according to the Hague Convention, within 6 weeks. And obviously, if that had happened, I wouldn't be here today. Instead, the case has been in front of the Paraguayan Supreme Court without any meaningful news for 4 years. My father and I travel to Paraguay twice a year to see my daughter, and every time we do, we try to pack 6 months' worth of love and teaching and parenting and milestones into a couple of weekends. In fact, we just got back from our most recent trip a week ago, where we celebrated her 13th birthday. Again, she's 13. She was abducted when she was 6, and Paraguay is still pretending that they're working on it. In the meantime, my daughter's custody is completely legally undefined. I'm not speaking here as a parent who's lost custody. That would be another thing. In my case, 6 years have passed without a final decision even being made. Our group of parents currently consists, as Sorab said, of 39 parents and more than 50 abducted Canadian children. All of our cases are different. Some of our kids were taken to Hague signatory countries, some were not. Some of us are dads, some of us are mums. We come from all kinds of backgrounds and live in provinces across the country. All of our kids were abducted, and that's what brought us together. But we have one other thing in common. Before the abduction, our kids had 2 parents and access to their complete cultural heritage, extended families, and sense of identity. They were Lebanese Canadian. They were Indian Canadian. They were Paraguayan Canadian. They were Japanese Canadian. After the abduction, one entire half of the child's identity is erased. They're not Lebanese Canadian, they're Lebanese. They're not Indian Canadian, they're Indian. They're not Paraguayan Canadian, they're Paraguayan. And anything beyond that country is evil and dangerous. One parent is removed from the picture and called dangerous or irrelevant or undeserving, along with half of the grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends. This frames the child's future as a fight between mom and dad, between Canada and the other country, and it teaches the child that one half of who they are is bad and wrong. And that's a terrible thing to do to a child. We're not here to say that just that crossing a border illegally with a child is wrong. Obviously it is. We're here to say that a child has a right to connection and contact with both their parents, both halves of their heritage. They have a right to be part of the wider world without fear or mistrust of the people that should be most invested in their well-being, which is their parents. It gets really hard after such a long time, 6 years in my case, to talk about what justice might look like, what a good outcome looks like, and what the best case scenario might be. Let me describe that for you in 2 parts. The first part is that no family in the future should be subjected to the destruction that comes with an abduction. I've tried to describe the experience before, and I don't know if I've done a good job or not. You've heard the other speakers struggle with trying to articulate that when they've done it over and over again. But if you can imagine the jolt in your chest that comes with your child facing a risk, maybe they're running down a concrete staircase and they trip, maybe you lose sight of them in the crowd for a moment. Imagine that feeling stretching into a horror of days, months, years. It's indescribable. When we hold as a group an intake for a new parent that's potentially joining our group, they're often in the first months of that span of time. When we tell them it gets better, simply because it can't stay that bad forever. We see the tension in their faces, we hear their voices breaking as they try to summarize the facts. They are all, and we all, experiencing trauma, which reflects itself in different ways for each of us. In the time in those first months, it's nearly impossible to keep healthy, to stay employed, to stay housed, to maintain relationships, to sleep, to eat, and on top of that, to learn a completely new skill set for working internationally to find and return and contact our kids. Our group is here to do everything we can to prevent this from happening to another generation of abducted Canadian kids. Because the federal government has known that it's, at least since 1997, when it last studied the issue in committee, that they need to do more. And they haven't. And all of our kids were abducted since then. And in the 4 years since we've been meeting here, we have yet to feel like the Canadian government, our government, is treating the problem with the attention that it deserves. We've written to 4 ministers of foreign affairs just since my daughter was taken: Chrystia Freeland, François-Philippe Champagne, Marc Garneau, and Mélanie Joly. And we've never yet been able to engage directly with any of these, despite our repeated attempts. And today we congratulate Anita Anand, as she's appointed to the portfolio, and we look forward to finding with her the engagement that's been so elusive so far. Because the unmet needs of our abducted children were already clear to the government, and we cannot afford to lose another 25 plus years of failing to act on those. That points in the direction of the first outcome I would like to see, that these cases become rarer, not more common, and they're resolved in weeks, not years. The second outcome is for the individual parents here and across the country who are attempting to bring their kids home. For them, for us, and for me, I still think there's a future ahead of us that gives our children a complete, healthy, and unified environment. I want justice for my daughter, and for myself, and for my family, but I don't think that justice looks like my daughter visiting her mom in jail. That would trade one parent for another, and it would still be our daughter's loss. Instead, it looks like restorative justice, a process that looks at community impact of a criminal act, like an abduction, and builds a path towards a future with a child at the center of it, and the active participation of both parents, both countries, both cultures, and both parts of the family, the entire child, where that child grows into a world of opportunity and expansiveness, not of fear and limitation. My father and I returned to Canada from Paraguay last week, exhausted, with a mixture of feelings. We were delighted to see my daughter and his granddaughter, and to spend time with her building Legos, sharing meals, walking in the park, and yes, working through the dreaded math notebook. These trips are also very hard because we have to fight for every moment that we have with her, in a system that seems totally disinterested in doing frankly anything at all. We see how tall she's growing, and her maturing from a child into an adolescent. We delight in connecting her with her cousins. But it weighs on us that we're traveling there for yet another year with no progress in resolving the legal aspects of the case, of her abduction, win or lose. Then, shortly after we returned, I did get some news. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has agreed to hear this case, moving it from acceptance into merits stage. This means that the Inter-American Court of Human Rights will hear the case, and it'll mean pressure on Paraguay to make and enforce a decision on my daughter's return. So for the first time in a long time, I'm feeling some optimism. Here we have a new government with some fresh faces who are hoping will be ready to engage with us. In Paraguay, in spite of it all, my connection with my daughter, who is rapidly growing into a young woman, and of whom I'm intensely proud, remains strong. And with the help of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, we may finally have a positive outcome on her abduction case. Hopefully for her, and hopefully publicly giving clarity on the failure of the safeguards that were supposed to protect her, and with a mandate to preventing it from happening again. I thank all of you here for following us through these past years. And in particular, I want to recognize Jolly, wherever she is, who has been through the most incredible trials this last year, and now, having come through all of that, is facing a very difficult anniversary. I don't know anybody on this planet more deserving of the security and well-being that she's asking for herself and for her boys. I hope by this time next year, we'll be able to say that in some form or other, we did find it. I want to say a few words about the props and the artwork that we have here. Every year that we do this, and this is our 4th year holding this conference, we have an art night where friends and family come together, have a crepe, have some coffee at the delightful Boccato Crepe and Gelato. And a number of the paintings that you see here, the lanterns that will be lighting when the darkness falls on us, these were created by this amazing community during those events. We also have a number of shoes up here, and as you can probably guess, these are our children's shoes. I have myself 3 pairs of shoes that my daughter loved and wore and ran through the forests in British Columbia with. Peppa Pig and Frozen, 2 of her favorite things at those particular moments in time. We have Jolly's boys' brand new soccer shoes that she's held onto since then. And we have some umbrellas from our kids that we've held onto. And we've all struggled to understand which parts of that phase of our life to hang on to and which parts to let go. As we've heard a couple of times, there are 39 parents, and only a few of us are able to travel here and dedicate 3 days of a week, the travel costs to come. And you can imagine there are many others of us with clothing and possessions and toys that have meaning to us, and those years have passed when those children would play with those toys and we are left holding on to them, wondering whether to keep them or not. The next thing I'd like to do is open the mic for a minute for any parents who are here who have a story to tell that have not had a chance yet. So I'll pause for that.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It truly means a lot. Last year when I was standing here, I literally could not even stand and speak. And I really want to thank this family here who's been really supportive, and at least I'm able to speak up and I'm more, I can say, resilient. So my name is Pradeep. I'm a Canadian father who has been waiting and hoping to be reunited with his daughter for nearly 2 years now. In July 2023, my daughter, who is about 4.5 years old, was taken to India in violation of a custody order issued by the Quebec court. So I had the complete custody, but somehow my ex abducted my child. Since that day, it's been 2 years that I have had no contact with her. There's not been a single phone call, not even a wellness check. I've been trying all different ways to find out where exactly she is and how she's doing, and I've had no contact. So basically, there's not been a single moment. The life has not been the same. There's never a moment that I don't miss her. I try to go on with my life to stay strong, but the truth is, it really affects you so badly, so deeply. I carry this pain every day, I can say, every moment. Wherever I go, whatever I do, I can never forget her. And yet I keep going on because, it's only for her. I do it with hope that somehow she feels my love wherever she is, whatever I do. When I play her favorite songs, when I walk by the snow, she used to love snow. So when I walk by the snow, when I pick up my guitar, I do it all with her in my heart, wishing she knows I'm still there for her, loving her every second, every moment, every second that I'm alive, I'm thinking about her. My daughter and I shared a very special bond. We laughed all the time. I don't think there was ever a moment that I made her cry ever for anything. I used to show her the world. Basically, we used to turn everyday things into imaginary, something funny, magical. We used to have our own story for everything that we do for every day. She loved snow, she loved music, she loved drawing. It was just like being silly with me was her favorite thing. We used to just laugh around every now and then. On one evening, she was not well. So I used to buy her toys every week. So that evening, I don't know, since she was not well, I bought her more and more toys. I literally got her so many toys that she was so excited. She had extra toys for her to bump her energy. She was playing with her grandparents. That was the first time my parents were seeing my daughter. They were playing with her, and that day I did not even go near her because I was just enjoying the moment of my daughter playing with my parents, and I was just soaking in all that peace, and I was having great time. And while I was taking her back in the car, she actually slept on my shoulder and she said, "I love hugging you. I like sleeping on this. I need always." So that moment actually changed something in me. It was the first time she showed like pure love. She was just 4 years old. I never knew that she could speak so much. I was really, really proud of her. I held her close, not knowing that would be the last time that I would see her. I just dropped her, and then I was like, while driving back, I was like thinking about that moment again and again. In fact, I even took a wrong exit. That's the route which I take so often. I took because there was I was so much deeply involved with her thoughts and I knew that something was not right, and if I had known, I would have never let her go. She's 6 now, she was supposed to be starting her school early. Uh, Her doctors said that she was ready early than other kids. She was so excited. She would have been in her maybe second grade now. Instead of beginning her journey here in Canada, she's somewhere far away. I don't know where she is. She's not just missing the endless love I have for her. She's also missing the love, care, support of my entire family. She's missing out on the beautiful, safe life she could have had growing up here in Canada with everything this country has to offer for a child. This vigil tonight isn't just about my story, as we all heard. It's about all the children taken across border and all the parents left behind with no answers, no contact, no peace. To the Canadian government, global affairs, who have been not responding to all these, or anybody who has power to help, I ask you, please act. She deserves to be protected. She deserves to come home. One thing is, I want to thank thank the planning committee, the family of ROCH. Your support has been incredible. Like literally, I've been standing here in front of all of you talking. Itself gives me so much of strength. It amazes me how committed you all are, continuing the work, this year's conference, organizing the vigil. It inspires me how much you all can do with so much little. You have stood by families like mine, and I'm truly grateful. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to this wonderful family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here tonight, for standing with me, to everyone who has come here to support me and help me keep going on. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thibault. I have two children that have been taken to Honduras 7 years ago. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much. We often underestimate the importance of the support that the community and that the groups are providing. Parental abduction is a pretty lonely experience. Like, you have hope at the beginning that you're going to get some support from your government. However, past the original reassurance they're providing you that they are signatory of the Hague Convention Treaty and that normally within a few weeks you're going to be able to see your children back. It's now been 7 years in my case, and so far we've never been discussing any of the merits. So I was saying the experience has been very lonely at the beginning. The abduction, your world shatters. So I'm very grateful for all of you to be here today and for the group to organize those type of vigil. Because from a very lonely experience, you go through an extensive amount of support. You realize that you're not the only one that is facing those ups and downs, because this has been a roller coaster experience during the past 7 years. Besides the judicial burden, the financial burden, and all that comes along, the immensible pain that you're suffering is what you're struggling with on a daily basis. So I'm still hopeful that despite those 7 years, I get a chance to see them at some point. So far, in those 7 years, what did we do? Just technicalities, legalities regarding how can we attend, how can we present evidence, and so on. Those are, I agree, important questions in the judicial system. However, we're talking about children and parents that are separated from each other. And the convention is supposed to provide more flexibility so that procedural aspect does not become the master of the justice. And in many of our cases, this is what's currently happening. Hopefully, our government will wake up one of those days, because there is something very ironic about the position of Canada. Many of you may not know it, but Canada was among the founders of the Hague Convention. 3 countries were the original signatories here. Hague Convention entered in force on the 1st of December 1983 in Canada, France, and Portugal. And currently our government is doing next to nothing to support us. What's their rationale? It is a private matter. But at the same time, I'd like to remind them that Canada has a charter, that guarantees the integrity, the security of all the Canadian citizens. So they have a duty to come and assist us in those procedures. Law is one thing, but the second you're crossing borders, those Canadian laws are useless. I've been having judgments for the past 7 years that grant me custody, that condemn my ex-wife to punitive damages for procedural abuse. Yeah. I've been to court over 80 times in different countries to try to get my children back. None of that has worked. Most of the countries that are experiencing success in bringing children back is through diplomatic channels, through pressure exercised on those countries that decides not to be compliant with the treaties they are signing. In my case, Honduran has been systematically deemed non-compliant by the US government. And that government is actually trying to do actions to pressure that country into respecting those treaties. So today I thank you for being here. And if you have an opportunity to talk to your MPs and so on about the importance of that issue, I would like you to take those couple of minutes, if you bump into them, to try to raise the attention on the case of all of us. That is now my mission. I'm going to be probably in the next year graduating from a bachelor in law, because this is now my commitment to make sure that this situation is no longer going to happen to other families, to other parents, and more importantly to other children that will grow up in destroyed families. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you, Thibault. Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, Shelley and Alec. So just a few things that I do want to mention. We know every year you guys all come out. We appreciate you. We value all of the time that you give us. It has been a struggle. This is our 4th annual year. I'm actually still waiting for it to kind of rain or blizzard. I'm not sure, but this can't be normal. It's such a beautiful day and it never happens. Anyway, I just want to give you a summary of what we are doing, what we have been doing, and it has been a slow process. So I thank you as well for your patience. This year, every year we try to meet with government officials. We don't get a lot of invites, but this year we actually have had a few insightful meetings. One was with a professor from Queen's University whose expertise is in parental alienation, or children alienation, I should say. And he gave us a lot of great advice. Talked about a little bit of the psychological issues that the students might face. And let's face it, whether or not the children are living the best life, they are still being deprived of one of their parents. And like Alec mentioned, a whole side of their culture and family is not present. So the talk was really, really informative on how we should even deal with our own kids sometimes. And it's really hard because sometimes we want to yell and we want to scream and we want to tell them, like, it's not fair. We didn't want this for you. You know, I do recognize that I am one of the few people that do have connection with my kids. And some days I just want to tell them, you've been kidnapped flat out. And those people who you call family are my enemies. But that won't do us any good. So you keep shut for another year or another minute, another month, another year, and you just keep going. And we had so the man that we talked to, the professor from Queen's University, Nicholas Balla? Thank you. Thanks. Sorry. Nicholas Balla was very, very encouraging, and he promoted a lot of peace and a lot of patience, and he has seen children come back, and the work begins after a child comes back as well. It just doesn't end with the return of a child. So there is a lot of effects and things that we need to be aware of when we speak to our own children. And the second person that we spoke to is Alex Neve he actually does a lot of work on social justice issues, international affairs, and mostly with torture and imprisonment overseas. But he related a lot of his talks and studies to international parental child abductions and also the law, and talked about United Nations charters of rights for the child mostly. And we do recognize that our children are being deprived of their UN Charter of Rights in so many ways. I know for mine especially, education. My kids are not in a regular school. And we have tried over and over to engage with our government, and they do sit with us, and they agree, and then the talks end, and then we don't hear back. So we did get a lot of insight about the language around the United Nations Charter of Rights and Child's Rights around the world, and that we are going to take that language and everything that we learned to the meeting tomorrow with Global Affairs and IRCC, and hopefully begin changes. We have also talked to someone from Missing Kids. Her name is Lindsay Lobb. She gave us a lot of insight. Missing Kids was actually just a national organization, and they dealt with a lot of kids missing within Canada or interprovincial abductions. They've now realized that the percentage of international parental child abductions has increased a lot since COVID, and now have been doing work to connect children overseas with their, children who are kidnapped overseas with their parents over here in Canada. So things are moving. It might seem slow. It might seem like nothing is happening. I do want to put faith in our organization, as little as it is, that we are making little ripples in this grand ocean of diplomacy and international relations and international law. So I am quite proud to be, first of all, a founding member, but also like to be a part of Return Our Children Home. We are a really amazing, cute little organization, a cute little community that's surviving right now. With that said, we will be making our way down to East Indian Company, which is on Somerset Street, just a few blocks that way. I do also want to thank Boccato, which is a cafe in Lansdowne. If you're from the Ottawa area, I think most of you are. Please go and support them. They support us every year. They let us take over their store, and we create these the art pieces that you see here. And also, East Indian Company has always supported us since the second year of our conference, where we have our dinners, and every year they invite us to come back. They treat us really good. Before we end, we're going to have 1 minute of silence. So I would encourage everybody to come and grab a lantern. There are candles in there. We'll light it up, and then we'll have a moment of silence honoring all of our children. And please just, if you pray for their return. Send us well wishes. Just give us positive vibes. So I'll invite everybody to come up and grab a lantern. Thank you. And we'll just have a moment of silence and think of our children. All right. Thank you, guys. If I can have you turn the candles off. We will be taking it late tonight to the monument of Human Rights Monument at City Hall, and we will be lighting it up over there. If anyone wants to join us after the restaurant, you're more than welcome. But I will also invite you right now, if you are planning to walk with us to the restaurant, to grab a poster or a sign or a picture or even the lantern and walk with it just as moral representation, if you don't mind. If you don't want to, you're not forced to. And we will kind of pack up everything and meet you all at the restaurant for 6:30ish, or like, yeah, between 6 and 6:30. Thank you.